The little girl whispered just 4 words, and the CEO broke down crying. The city skyline shimmered in the distance, but all Arthur Vance saw was glass. The floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office offered a commanding view of downtown, a kingdom beneath the feet of its king. At 48, Arthur had everything most men only dreamed of: billions in assets, luxury cars, a name etched into Forbes covers and investor portfolios. And yet, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden shadows across his desk, Arthur felt only silence. He turned his wedding ring slowly on his finger, a habit now. It had been years since Eleanor left, and even longer since the choice that haunted him every night. There was no picture of a family on his desk, no laughter down the halls of his sprawling home, just board meetings, acquisitions, and the echo of regrets. The past was a closed chapter, or so he thought. Until that Tuesday afternoon. "Mr. Vance," his assistant Melanie said gently through the intercom, "there's a little girl here to see you." Arthur blinked. "A what?" "A little girl. She's alone. Says it's urgent. She won't leave." He frowned. Children didn't just wander into the 26th floor of a security-patrolled building. "Call security." "I tried. She begged me to let her speak to you first. Melanie hesitated. "She said it's about your heart." That made him pause. Arthur stood, his suit jacket crisp, tie immaculate. "Send her in." The door opened slowly. She couldn't have been older than 6, brown curls, scuffed sneakers, and the biggest hazel eyes he'd ever seen. She held a small plush rabbit, worn from years of love. Her gaze wasn't afraid. It was searching. Arthur cleared his throat. "What's your name?" She stepped forward. "I'm Lily." He nodded, uncertain. "All right, Lily. Do you know who I am?" She tilted her head. "You're Arthur Vance." "My mommy showed me pictures." Arthur's blood chilled. "Your mommy?" Lily nodded again. "Her name's Ava. Ava Sinclair." Arthur sat down hard in his leather chair, the name hitting him like a blow to the chest. Ava. 20 years ago. The girl he left behind in college when ambition whispered sweeter promises. He hadn't seen her since, not since he made her choose between a child and his future. He began, but Lily stepped forward and placed her small hand on his. Then she whispered the 4 words that shattered everything. "You're my daddy, Arthur." His breath caught. The room spun. For a second, everything, the glass, the city, the titles, disappeared, and there was only that voice, that child, and the weight of a truth long buried. Arthur Vance, billionaire titan, broke down crying. Tears fell freely, something Arthur hadn't allowed himself in decades. He tried to speak, but his throat constricted. The little girl stood silently, her hand still resting on his, as if grounding him in this sudden earthquake of truth. "You're my... what?" he finally managed to whisper, the words shaky, his voice raw. Lily didn't flinch. "My mommy told me you were. She showed me your picture, the same one that's in the hallway downstairs. She said your name is Arthur Vance, that you're important." Arthur stared, the pieces of a forgotten life colliding like shards of broken glass. Ava. He remembered her soft laugh, her fierce eyes, and the day he walked away, no, the day he ran, too afraid of responsibility, too in love with ambition. He thought she would move on. She never told him she was pregnant, or maybe she did, and he chose not to listen. He leaned forward, eyes scanning the girl's face, searching for signs, and there it was, his mother's nose, Ava's cheekbones, and something familiar in the way her brow furrowed when confused. It was uncanny, no DNA test needed. This child was his. "How old are you, Lily?" he asked softly. 6, she said proudly. "My birthday was in May." 6. That would make sense. That would mean... "Why now?" Arthur asked, more to himself than to her. "Why did she wait?" Lily shrugged. "She got sick last week in the hospital. She told me if something happened, I had to find you. She said you had a big heart once, before it turned cold. His heart clenched. Ava was in the hospital? Sick. Is your mom okay? Lily looked down. She told me not to cry, that's what she always says, but the nurses look worried. Arthur stood up, walking to the window, gripping the frame. His reflection stared back at him, haunted, ashamed. He had built empires, won wars in the boardroom, crushed competitors, but he couldn't face the girl he left behind, until now. He turned slowly. Lily, where are you staying? At the hospital. But sometimes I sleep in the chair in Mommy's room. Miss Clara, she's the nurse, gives me juice. A rush of guilt hit him like a wave. This little girl had been navigating a world no child should face alone, and he'd been just blocks away, buried in meetings and mergers. Would it be all right if I visited her? Your mum? Lily nodded. That's why I came. Mommy said you wouldn't come unless you knew, unless I told you. Arthur knelt in front of her, placing his hand on her shoulder. You did the bravest thing anyone's ever done, Lily. She smiled faintly, but there was exhaustion in her eyes. Can we go now? Arthur looked at the empire behind him, sterile, silent, and made a decision he should have made years ago. Yes, let's go see your mother. The town car cut through the city like a phantom, silent and swift. Arthur sat beside Lily in the back seat, his suit jacket folded neatly beside him, sleeves rolled up as if that made him more human. Lily hugged her rabbit tightly, watching the traffic lights change colors outside the window. She didn't speak much, neither did he, but the silence wasn't awkward, it was loaded. At a red light, Arthur finally asked, "What's your rabbit's name?" Lily looked down and smiled. "Mr. Buttons. He's been with me since forever." He nodded. "I used to have a bear named Jasper when I was little. Thought he could talk to trees." Lily giggled. "Mr. Buttons talks to the moon." Arthur smiled. For a moment, he wasn't the CEO of Vance Holdings. He was just a man sitting beside a little girl who held his entire world in her lap. The hospital came into view, St. Agnes, a modest aging building with ivy crawling up one side. Arthur's chest tightened. He'd funded the expansion wing years ago, never imagining the woman he once loved might one day lie behind those walls. Lily led the way. Nurses recognized her instantly, offering quiet smiles and gentle nods as she passed. She was clearly loved here, known, but the surprise on their faces when they saw Arthur was palpable. Room 312. Lily paused outside the door. She might be asleep or tired, but she'll smile when she sees you. Arthur felt the weight of 6 years, of silence, of every phone call never made, every letter never written. He opened the door slowly. The room was dim but warm. A woman lay on the hospital bed, pale but composed, her long auburn hair swept back. An oxygen tube ran beneath her nose. She was thinner than he remembered, but her presence hadn't faded. Ava. Her eyes opened slowly. For a second they blinked, confused by the light. Then she saw Lily. Then him. Silence. "Ava," Arthur said, his voice cracking. "It's me." Her hand tightened around the blanket. "I must be dreaming," she whispered. Lily ran to her, placing her head gently on her mother's chest. "I found him, Mommy. I told him the words." Ava looked from her daughter to the man she once loved. "And he believed you?" Arthur stepped forward. "I didn't need convincing, the truth was in her eyes." Ava smiled weakly. "She always said you'd come if she told you." He sat beside the bed, taking her hand gently. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her gaze drifted to the ceiling. "Because I thought you made your choice and I wasn't going to beg." Arthur swallowed hard. "I didn't know. I was stupid. I thought I was doing the right thing." Ava looked back at him, tears forming. "And now?" He glanced at Lily, who was dozing softly beside her mother. "Now I want to make it right. Whatever it takes." Ava's voice was barely a whisper. "Then start by not leaving." He nodded, eyes burning. I'm not going anywhere. The hours melted into soft conversation and long silences. Arthur stayed by Ava's side, watching as Lily finally succumbed to sleep, curled up in the chair with Mr. Buttons tucked beneath her chin. The beeping of the monitors was steady, calm. But Ava's eyes were tired, too tired. "She has your stubbornness," Arthur said softly, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Ava gave a tired smile. "And your curiosity. She asks 1,000 questions a day." "I deserve them," he said quietly. "Everyone." Ava turned her face slightly toward him. "Why did you come?" "Because she told me the truth," he replied. "And because I couldn't live another day thinking I'd lost both of you forever." Her breath caught, shallow and quick. "You didn't lose me, Arthur. You just left me behind." He bowed his head. "I know, and it was the worst mistake of my life." She closed her eyes for a moment, collecting herself. "I didn't want to hate you. I really didn't. But there were nights I had nothing but tears and a baby that wouldn't sleep." Arthur reached for her hand. "Let me fix it. Let me be here now." She looked at him then, really looked, and for a moment, something softened. "I'm not the girl you left behind," she said. "I'm not the boy who left," he replied. Outside the window, the city lights shimmered. Life moved on, uncaring of personal tragedies. But inside room 312, time had slowed. Old wounds cracked open, not to hurt, but to heal. A nurse came in quietly, checking Ava's vitals. Arthur stood to give her room. "She's stable for now," the nurse said, smiling gently. "But her body's weak. We'll know more after tomorrow's scans." Arthur nodded. "Thank you." The nurse looked at him curiously. "You're Lily's father?" He hesitated, then nodded again. "Yes, I am." The nurse smiled. "She talks about you all the time. Said you'd come one day." After she left, Arthur looked at Ava. "She believed in me more than I believed in myself." "She has faith in people," Ava said, "even when they don't deserve it." He sat back down. "And you? Do you still believe in me, even a little?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked at Lily, then back at him. "I believe people change. But it takes more than words." Arthur nodded. "Then I'll show you, I'll show her." Ava touched his hand. "She needs stability, Arthur. A real home, not just promises. You both deserve that, and I'm ready to give it." She looked at him, lips trembling. "She thinks the world of you. If you disappear again—" "I won't," he interrupted. "I swear." Ava nodded slowly, a tear sliding down her cheek. For the first time in years, they were no longer strangers bound by a past. They were two parents trying to forge a future. Arthur gently kissed the back of her hand, and then her heart monitor skipped a beat. The sound was subtle, just a blip, but it sent a chill down Arthur's spine. He looked at the monitor again. The green line still moved, but something was off. Ava's eyes fluttered, and her breathing became shallower. "Ava," he whispered, leaning in. "Ava, stay with me." Her eyelids flickered. I'm okay," she murmured. But her voice was thin, distant, like it came from underwater. Arthur pressed the call button, then gently shook her shoulder. "Don't do this. Not now." A nurse rushed in, followed by another. "Sir, please step back." "No, wait, she was just talking to me." "Her heart rate's irregular," one of them said quickly. "Get Dr. Shepherd, now." Arthur was frozen, standing just a few feet away but feeling miles apart. Lily stirred in her sleep, sensing the shift in the room's energy. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. "What's wrong with Mommy?" she asked. Arthur turned to her, heart aching. "She's just tired, sweetheart. The nurses are helping her." Lily looked at her mother, eyes wide with fear. "Is she gonna go to heaven?" Arthur knelt in front of her, pulling her close. "No, baby. She's strong, like you. She's going to be okay." Lily clutched his shirt tightly, burying her face against his chest. "I don't want her to go." "You won't lose her," he whispered fiercely, more to himself than to her. "Not again." The doctors entered, The monitor beeped faster now, and voices overlapped as orders were given. They began adjusting her IV, checking the lines, calling out stats Arthur didn't understand. But he understood panic. He understood the look in the nurse's eyes. He stood up, watching from the doorway, shielding Lily from the chaos. His hands trembled, fists clenched. "Do something," he told himself. "Don't just stand here." A memory flashed. Ava laughing under a tree on campus, books in her lap, her hand resting gently on his. And then another. Ava, her face falling when he said the words that ended it all. "I can't be a father. Not now." The guilt surged. "Fight, Ava," he whispered. "Please, fight." The monitor steadied slightly. One of the nurses sighed in relief, and the doctor adjusted her oxygen. "She's stabilizing," he said. "Her body's exhausted." "But she's fighting," Arthur exhaled shakily. Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Will she wake up?" "Yes," he said firmly. "She has to." The doctor turned to him. "We'll keep her under observation tonight. Tomorrow's scan will tell us more, but for now, she needs rest." Arthur nodded, then looked down at Lily. "We'll stay, right here." Lily sat beside her mother's bed again, holding her hand. Arthur pulled a chair up on the other side, watching every breath Ava took, like it might be the last. He had just found them, and the thought of losing either of them now was unbearable. Outside, the night deepened, and then Ava whispered his name, just once, soft, barely audible, but she was still with them, for now. Morning sunlight filtered through the hospital blinds, casting warm stripes across the floor. Arthur hadn't slept. He sat in the same chair beside Ava's bed, his tie loosened, hair disheveled, eyes red from both exhaustion and emotion. Lily had curled up in the corner, her head on a pillow brought by one of the nurses. Mr. Buttons clutched tightly in her arms. Ava stirred. Arthur leaned forward instantly. "Ava, can you hear me?" Her eyelids fluttered open. She looked confused at first, then focused on him. "Still here?" she asked, her voice hoarse but alive. "Of course," he replied softly, fighting back tears. "I told you I wasn't going anywhere." She offered the faintest smile, her hand weakly reaching toward his. He took it gently, holding it as if it were the most fragile thing in the world. "What happened?" she murmured. "You scared us. Your heart. It skipped a few beats. The doctors said you need rest." Ava closed her eyes for a moment. "It's been like this for a while. I just didn't want Lily to see." Arthur's heart twisted. "You should have told someone. Told me." "I didn't think you'd care," she said honestly. "Back then, I didn't matter to you." "You've always mattered to me," he said. "I was just too blind to see it." Silence settled between them, thick with all the words they hadn't spoken over the years. Then Ava's eyes drifted to Lily, who stirred and opened her eyes. "Mommy," she said sleepily. "I'm here, baby," Ava whispered, her voice breaking. Lily rushed to her bedside, wrapping her little arms around her gently. Arthur watched them, a lump forming in his throat. After a moment, Lily looked up at both of them. "Can we go home soon?" Ava hesitated. Arthur spoke for her. "Soon, sweetheart, when Mommy's feeling better." Lily nodded. "I want us all to go home, together." Ava looked at Arthur, something unreadable in her eyes. He answered the silent question with a quiet, "Yes, together." A nurse knocked gently before entering with a tray. "Breakfast time. Let's try a little food today." As she helped Ava sit up slightly, Arthur stepped outside the room to give them space. He leaned against the wall in the hallway, staring at the floor. His phone buzzed. Melanie, his assistant. 10 missed calls and a text. "Board meeting starts in 30 minutes. Investors are waiting. Do you need me to reschedule again?" Arthur stared at the message. There was a time when this would have sent him into a panic. But today, the choice was clear. He typed back, "Tell them I'm with my family. They can wait." He slipped the phone into his pocket and stepped back inside, where Ava was smiling faintly at Lily's stories. the beeping monitor keeping quiet time. He had chosen ambition once. Now he was choosing something else, something real. By mid-morning, the hospital room had transformed. A nurse had brought Lily a coloring book and a box of crayons. Arthur had ordered breakfast from a nearby cafe, real food, not the hospital tray. And even the scent of fresh croissants made Ava smile. The energy was different. Hope had begun to creep in. Ava sat propped up by pillows, her color slowly returning. Her hand, still linked with Arthur's at times, trembled less now. She watched Lily draw in the corner, humming softly. "I don't know what changed in you," she said suddenly, her voice low, "but I can feel it." Arthur didn't look away. "Everything changed when she walked into my office. 4 words, and it was like someone cracked the shell around my heart." "You always had that shell," Ava said, "even back then." He nodded. "I know. I built it young. My father left when I was 8. My mom raised me alone. I thought I had to become untouchable to survive. I thought love made people weak." "And now?" she asked. He met her gaze. "Now I know love's the only thing that makes us strong." She looked away for a moment, overwhelmed. "I never wanted to raise her alone, but I wasn't going to beg someone to be a father." "You shouldn't have had to," Arthur said. "I should have been there. Every first step, every nightlight, every time she cried and you were the only one there." Ava's eyes shimmered with tears, but she nodded. "But you weren't." "No," he said. "But I can be now, if you'll let me." They sat in the quiet for a moment until Lily stood, holding up her drawing. "Look, it's us." She had drawn 3 stick figures holding hands. Arthur in a tall suit, Ava with long red hair, and Lily in the middle with a big smile and a floating bunny beside her. Arthur took the paper and stared at it like it was a blueprint to a better life. "This is beautiful," he said. "Can I keep it?" Lily grinned. "Only if you hang it in your big office." "I'll put it right on the wall behind my desk," he promised. Ava chuckled softly. "You'll shock your board of directors." "They'll adjust," he said, smiling. A knock came at the door. It was Dr. Shepherd holding a folder. "We have the test results," he said, serious but not grim. Arthur stood up, tension immediately returning. Dr. Shepherd approached Ava's bedside. "There's some good news. Your heart is damaged, yes, but not beyond repair. If we act quickly with the right treatment and strict rest, you'll recover. But we need to start today." Ava looked at Arthur, unsure. "I'll help," he said immediately. "With everything." Dr. Shepherd nodded. "I'll have the nurses prep the first round of medication." As he left, Arthur looked at Ava. "You heard him. This isn't the end, it's the beginning." But Ava's smile was thin, almost hesitant, because she knew something Arthur didn't. Arthur noticed it the moment the doctor left, the way Ava's smile faltered, how her fingers tensed slightly in the blanket. She was hiding something. He could feel it in the shift of her energy, the way her eyes avoided his. "What is it?" he asked gently. She shook her head. "Nothing. I'm just tired." He sat back down, leaning closer. "Ava, please, don't shut me out again." She hesitated, then glanced toward Lily, who had gone back to coloring near the window. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The treatment works, but there's a risk." Arthur nodded slowly. "Every treatment has risks. What kind?" Ava swallowed. "It could damage my kidneys. Permanently. If that happens, I'll need dialysis for the rest of my life. Or a transplant." Arthur's heart sank. Why didn't the doctor say that just now? "Because I asked him not to, at least not in front of Lily. She's been through enough." Arthur glanced over at the little girl drawing quietly, oblivious to the storm building around her. He felt a knot form in his chest. "You should have told me. We're in this together now." "I didn't know if I could believe that yet," Ava admitted. "You've been back in our lives for less than a day." He nodded, taking a deep breath. "Then let me prove it." She searched his face as if trying to find the man she used to know underneath the years and pain. "You can't just throw money at this, Arthur. This isn't a business deal." "I know," he said. "It's more important than anything I've ever done." A nurse entered to begin the first round of meds. Arthur stepped out into the hallway again to give them space, this time pulling out his phone with purpose. He called Melanie. "Cancel everything for the rest of the week," he said. "Sir, we have investors flying in from—" "Cancel it, or tell them I'm unavailable. My family comes first." There was silence on the other end. Then Melanie said quietly, "Understood." He hung up and walked down the hall to the hospital's admin office. In 20 minutes, he'd arranged for private nursing, daily meal deliveries, and a full suite of treatments for Ava. Whatever she needed, he would get it. When he returned to the room, Lily looked up at him and smiled. "Where'd you go?" "Just making sure your mommy gets everything she needs," he said. Lily stood and walked over to him. "I'm glad you're here." He knelt down and hugged her tightly. "Me too, Lily. Me too." Behind them, Ava watched with a mix of relief and fear. Part of her wanted to believe this would last. The other part knew reality wasn't a fairy tale. There were still truths Arthur didn't know, secrets she hadn't told him, things that could shatter all of this. Again. Later that afternoon, as Ava rested and Lily napped again beside her, Arthur stepped out to grab coffee from the hospital's cafe. The walk gave him space to think. He carried a paper cup back through the halls, nodding absently at nurses, the scent of antiseptic sharp in his nose. But something gnawed at him. That look on Ava's face, when she said there were risks. It wasn't just fear of treatment, it was something deeper, something buried. He returned to the room quietly. Ava was awake, looking out the window. She turned when he entered, her expression guarded. "I brought coffee," he said, offering the cup. "Still know how I take it?" she asked softly. He smiled faintly. "1 cream, 2 sugars, some things stick." She accepted the cup, taking a small sip. "Thank you." Arthur sat again, watching her. "Ava, what else aren't you telling me?" She didn't respond right away. Instead, she stared at her hands. "Ava," she sighed. "You don't get to come back after 6 years and demand every truth all at once." "You're right," he said. "But I'm here now, and I want all of it, even the things you think I can't handle." Ava took another sip, then looked at him. "You remember the night I told you I was pregnant?" Arthur nodded slowly. "I remember I didn't react well. You were cold, distant. You said I had to choose between the baby or you." "And you chose her," he said, his voice filled with guilt. "I chose life," she corrected. "And I don't regret it, not for a second." Arthur's voice dropped. "I do. I regret not staying, not being there." Ava studied him, then set the cup down. "There's something I wanted to tell you then, but I didn't. I was scared." He leaned forward. "Tell me now." She opened her mouth, then stopped. Her eyes flicked to Lily, still asleep, peaceful and unaware of the emotional storm brewing around her. "It's not the right moment," she whispered. Arthur reached across the bed, took her hand. "Ava, whatever it is, I want to know, please." But Ava shook her head. "After the next scan, let's just get through tomorrow, one step at a time." He didn't push. Instead, he nodded slowly, though his mind raced. They sat in silence again. Outside the window, clouds gathered. Rain began to tap against the glass, a soft rhythm. Arthur looked at Ava. "If it's something I did, I want to make it right. If it's something you've carried alone, you don't have to anymore." She gave a faint smile. "You sound like someone trying to rewrite history." "Maybe I am," he said, "but only because I see what I missed. And I don't want to miss another moment." Ava rested her head back on the pillow, eyes drifting closed. "Then stay." He did. But the truth she held inside her chest wasn't going to stay hidden much longer. That night, while Ava slept, and Lily lay quietly reading a picture book by the dim light of a night lamp, Arthur stepped out for air. The hospital rooftop garden was empty, just rows of benches, soft lighting, and the rustle of city wind against ivy-covered trellises. He leaned on the railing, eyes fixed on the skyline. He hadn't prayed in years, but tonight he closed his eyes and whispered words to no one in particular. Let her be okay. Let this not be too late. The door opened behind him. He turned, surprised to see Nurse Clara. She was the one who had first taken Lily in and watched over Ava during the harder nights. Her face was kind but edged with years of hard truths. "Mr. Vance," she said gently, "do you have a minute?" "Of course," he said, straightening. Clara stepped forward, glancing up at the stars. "I've known Ava since she arrived here, 6 months ago. At first, she didn't want help. She was stubborn, said she had to stay strong for her daughter." Arthur smiled faintly. "That sounds like her." "She never mentioned you. Not by name," Clara continued. "But I knew. There was someone she used to love, someone she lost." Arthur nodded slowly. "I didn't know about Lily. I didn't know she was sick." "I believe you," Clara said. "But I also believe Ava's holding back. She's scared." "I know," Arthur said. "And I think she's trying to protect us. Me. Lily." Clara's eyes softened. "There's something you should be prepared for, just in case." Arthur's heart jumped. "What do you mean?" Clara hesitated. "Ava's heart condition. It's progressed faster than she expected. The treatment may buy her time. Months. Maybe more. But it's not guaranteed. She's known this for weeks. She's just trying to make sure Lily will be okay." Arthur staggered back a step. "No. She said the doctor, he gave you the hopeful version. The full picture is more complicated." Clara's voice lowered. "She didn't want you to know yet. She thought it might scare you off." Arthur turned away, gripping the railing until his knuckles turned white. The air felt too thin. Not again. Not now. "She still loves you," Clara said gently. "That's what terrifies her." He faced her, eyes burning. "She's not going to die. I won't let her." Clara nodded. "Then you'll need to fight harder than you ever have. Not with money, with presence, with faith." Arthur stood in silence long after Clara left. The city lights blurred as tears welled again. When he returned to the room, Ava was awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling. She looked at him as he entered, and for the first time, there was no wall, no guarded smile, just raw honesty. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice a whisper. "Something about Lily." Arthur stepped closer, heart pounding, and Ava whispered 5 words that shattered his world again. "She's not just your daughter." Arthur's breath caught. The words hung in the air, thick and electric. He stared at Ava, not fully understanding. "What do you mean?" Ava's eyes didn't leave his. "She's not just your daughter. She's your second daughter." The world tilted. Arthur blinked, struggling to grasp what she was saying. "Second, I don't... What do you mean, second?" Ava swallowed hard, her voice barely audible. "I had twins, Arthur." The silence that followed was deafening. The monitor's rhythmic beeping felt like a drum inside his skull. He sat slowly, hands trembling. Where's the other one?" Ava turned her face toward the ceiling. "Her name is Rose." Arthur's mind raced. "Where is she? Why didn't you tell me about her?" "I couldn't," Ava said, her voice cracking. "She was born with a heart defect, worse than mine. Doctors weren't sure she'd make it. She stayed in the NICU for 6 months after birth. I lived there, slept in chairs, ate out of vending machines. I didn't want to tell you then because I thought maybe you'd already made your choice." Arthur stood, pacing now. "But Ava, after all these years, why didn't you say anything?" "I was going to," she said, "but then she was adopted." He stopped cold. "Adopted?" Ava nodded, pain carved deep into every word. "When she was 2. I had no job, no insurance, and I couldn't pay for another round of surgery. The hospital connected me with a family. They were good people, wealthy. They could give her what I couldn't. They let me visit. At first..." Arthur was speechless. Ava took a deep breath. "They moved overseas, stopped replying, changed numbers. I haven't seen her in 4 years. Arthur gripped the edge of the bed. "You gave our daughter away, and you never told me." I saved her, Ava said, fiercely now, and you weren't there. You didn't answer the phone, you didn't knock on the door, I did what I had to do, don't you dare judge me. The pain in her voice gutted him. Arthur sat back down, his head in his hands. My God, I have another child, a daughter I've never met. Ava reached for his hand. I never stopped thinking about her, and Lily still talks about her like she's real, like she remembers their last day together. Arthur looked up, eyes burning. Then we find her. Ava's lip trembled. I don't even know where to start. No one will help me, I've tried. He leaned in, his voice steady now. I'm not no one. I'm her father. Ava nodded, wiping her tears. From the bed, Lily stirred. Did you say Rose? They froze. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. I dream about her all the time. Arthur and Ava exchanged a glance, one of disbelief, urgency, and a shared, unspoken fear. Lily sat up straighter now, the sleep still in her eyes, but her voice clear. She has the same laugh as me, Lily said softly, and she always wears yellow in my dreams. Arthur knelt beside her. Lily, have you seen Rose before? Like, in real life? She nodded slowly. When I was little. But I don't remember much. Just that she always held my hand. And she said we'd always be connected, like the moon and the stars. Ava's breath hitched. That's what I used to tell them when they were babies. Arthur turned to Ava, stunned. How could she remember? They were together for the first 2 years, Ava said. They shared a crib, cried together, played together. Rose had a harder time, but Lily always reached for her. It's like she knew her sister needed her. Arthur ran his hand through his hair, heart racing. Then she's out there. Somewhere. And we have to find her. Ava nodded, but her voice trembled. Arthur, the family that adopted her, the Jamesons, they were wealthy, yes, but also private, extremely private. I signed a closed adoption. I didn't have a choice at the time. Arthur stood up, already moving. That was 6 years ago. I have lawyers now, investigators. I can reopen anything. Ava grabbed his wrist. Do it, but promise me something. He stopped. Anything. If you find her, don't scare them away. I just want to know she's okay. If she's happy, loved. Arthur looked into her eyes. She's our daughter, and I will find her. Lily watched them both, her small voice cutting through the tension. Will she come live with us? Ava hesitated. We don't know yet, baby, but maybe someday. Arthur leaned down beside her again. We'll do everything we can, Lily, I promise. She nodded solemnly. Okay, but I want to give her Mr. Buttons. He was ours. Arthur felt his throat tighten. That night, after Lily fell asleep again, he sat beside Ava, laptop open. He was already in touch with a private investigator, uploading the documents Ava had managed to keep, a birth certificate, a name, a hospital record. We'll start here, Arthur said, and trace the adoption forward. We'll find them. Ava leaned her head back against the pillow. I hope they didn't change her name. She was always Rose to me. Arthur closed the laptop slowly, then turned to her. Ava, if we find her, are you strong enough for what comes next? She looked at him, exhausted but determined. She's part of me. If I have even 1 day left, I want to spend it knowing she's okay. Arthur reached for her hand, his voice raw. Then I swear we'll find her, no matter what it takes. And outside, across the city, a girl in yellow stared up at the same moon, drawn to a feeling she couldn't explain. In a quiet town nestled in the French countryside, a young girl stood at the edge of an orchard, the golden sun warming her face. Her name now was Isabel. But once, briefly, she had been Rose. She didn't know why she always wore yellow. It wasn't something her adoptive parents had taught her. It just felt right, like a memory stitched into her skin. Today she wore a yellow sweater with tiny embroidered stars on the cuffs, and she clutched a small worn photo of a woman she didn't recognize, One she had found hidden in a keepsake box beneath the stairs. "Isabel," a voice called. Her adoptive mother, Genevieve, waved from the porch. "It's time for your music lesson." Isabel turned slowly, slipping the photo back into her pocket. She didn't mention it, not yet, but it had been on her mind every night since she found it. Along with the dream, the same dream. A girl who looked just like her, laughing in a room full of stuffed animals, holding a rabbit, saying, "We're always connected." She didn't know who the girl was, but her name echoed through Isabel's dreams like a song she hadn't learned yet. Lily. Back in New York, Arthur paced the hospital hallway with his phone pressed to his ear. His investigator, Jeremy Lang, was speaking quickly. She was adopted under the name Rose Sinclair. The adoptive parents are Jonathan and Genevieve Jameson. Wealthy philanthropists moved to France 4 years ago after an extended visa grant, but the trail went cold after they changed her name. Arthur stopped. "Wait, changed her name to what?" "Isabel Jameson," Lang replied. "Age 6, enrolled in a private academy just outside Avignon. Photographs match, eyes, face shape, hair. It's her, Arthur. I'm sure of it." Arthur's voice shook. "Can you get me contact information?" Lang hesitated. "Technically, it's complicated. She's under international guardianship. If you go through legal channels, it could take months." Arthur was silent for a moment. "Then we don't go through legal channels. Not yet. I'm flying there." "Are you sure? That's risky." Arthur's voice was low and certain. "I'm not asking permission." He ended the call and turned back toward Ava's room. She was sitting up, Lily beside her, braiding her hair. They both looked up when he entered. "Well?" Ava asked. Arthur's eyes softened. "Her name is Isabel now. She's in France with the Jamesons." Ava's hand flew to her mouth, eyes filling with tears. "You found her?" "I did. Or at least I found where she is. I'm going to her." Lily's voice was small but determined. "Can I come too?" Arthur hesitated. "Not yet, sweetheart, but I promise. We'll bring her home." Ava took his hand. "I want to go with you." "You're still recovering." "She's my daughter," Ava said, her voice like steel. "If I die tomorrow and never see her again, I'll never forgive myself." Arthur nodded slowly. "Then we leave tonight." And somewhere across the ocean, a little girl looked out her window and whispered a name she didn't know she remembered. The flight was long and quiet. Arthur arranged everything: private jet, medical clearance for Ava, a nurse on board. Lily slept curled between them, unaware of the magnitude of what waited on the other side of the Atlantic. Ava gazed out the window, her face pale but steady. Arthur held her hand the entire time, every bump of turbulence another silent prayer that her heart would hold strong. By the time they landed in France, the sky had turned violet with dusk. The vineyard hills surrounding Avignon shimmered with golden light. A car was waiting, arranged by Arthur's investigator. The driver didn't ask questions, just nodded and took them through winding country roads, flanked by lavender fields and stone walls. Arthur read the dossier again in silence. The Jameson Estate, 14 Rue de la Lune. A restored farmhouse with high security, a gate and staff. Rose, Isabel, was enrolled in a private academy nearby, homeschooled part-time by a tutor. No social media, no photos online. "They're hiding her," Arthur muttered. "They're protecting her," Ava corrected gently. "The way I asked them to." Arthur looked over. "And now?" She glanced out the window. "Now I need to see her face. One more time at least." The car slowed. They turned down a gravel road lined with olive trees. At the end stood a sprawling estate, its shutters painted a soft cream, stone walls glowing in the dusk. A wrought iron gate stood closed. Arthur stepped out first. A guard approached, but Arthur raised his hands, palms open. "My name is Arthur Vance. I'm not here to cause trouble. I need to speak with Jonathan or Genevieve Jameson." The guard frowned, already reaching for his earpiece. "I'm Isabel's biological father," Arthur added, "and this—" He gestured to Ava behind him, stepping carefully out of the car. "Is her mother." The guard froze. Something shifted in his expression. "Wait here." 10 minutes passed like a century. Then, the front door opened and a woman stepped out. Graceful, elegant, with silver hair and calm eyes. Genevieve Jameson. She approached, wary but composed. "You found us," Arthur nodded. "We didn't come to fight, just to see her." Genevieve looked at Ava, her face softening. "You're thinner than I remember." Ava tried to smile. "Still stubborn?" Genevieve glanced back toward the house. "She doesn't remember you." "Not really, just shadows." "I don't expect her to," Ava said, "but I need her to see me once." Genevieve was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. "She's in the garden, picking figs. It's her favorite." Ava's knees wobbled. Arthur caught her gently. Can we go to her?" Ava whispered. Genevieve nodded. "You have 5 minutes. No big reunions, no tears in front of her. If she panics, I'll end it." Ava nodded, her voice already breaking. "Thank you." They walked slowly, Arthur supporting Ava, down the stone path. And there she was. In a yellow dress, her back to them, reaching for a fig. Arthur stopped. Ava covered her mouth. Rose. She stood barefoot in the garden, the hem of her yellow dress brushing against the long grass. Her dark curls shimmered in the golden light, catching the breeze. Arthur felt his knees weaken. Ava clutched his arm harder, barely able to breathe. Rose, Isabel, turned. For a moment, she simply blinked, unsure. Then her gaze settled on Ava, and her head tilted just slightly. Arthur saw the moment something clicked behind her eyes. A flicker of recognition not born from memory, but from something deeper. Instinct, maybe. Heart deep. Ava stepped forward, voice trembling. "Hi, sweetheart." The girl hesitated. "Do I know you?" Ava knelt despite her weakness, her body trembling. "My name is Ava. I'm your mom." Isabel froze. Her small hands gripped the fig she'd just picked. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Arthur approached slowly. "And I'm Arthur. I'm your dad." The words hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter with a single breath. Isabel took a step back. "My parents are inside." Arthur nodded. "We know. They love you. And they've taken care of you. We're not here to take you away." Ava's eyes were wet, her voice barely holding. "We just wanted to see you, because we've missed you every single day." Isabel's brow furrowed. "Missed me?" Arthur knelt beside Ava. "You have a sister. Her name is Lily. She's waiting just up the path. She remembers you. She dreams about you." That stopped Isabel. She blinked again, confusion and curiosity blending in her face. "I have a sister?" Ava nodded. "You were born together. You shared a crib. You held hands in your sleep." Genevieve appeared in the distance, watching like a hawk. Arthur turned back to Isabel. "Do you remember anything? Maybe not clearly, just feelings?" Isabel looked down at the fig. "Sometimes I feel like there's someone missing, like someone forgot to tell me something important." Ava reached forward, not touching her, just close enough to be felt. "You're not crazy, sweetheart. That feeling, it's Lily. It's us." Isabel looked between them. Then her eyes settled on Ava again. "You're sick." Ava stiffened. "Yes, but I'm trying to get better." There was a pause, a stillness. Then, softly, the girl said 4 words. "I dream about you." Arthur's breath caught. Ava gasped. "I didn't know your name," Isabel continued, stepping forward. "But I dream about you holding me, singing, something with stars." Ava nodded, choking on emotion. "I used to sing that to you both, every night." The girl reached forward finally and touched Ava's hand. Arthur could barely breathe. But before anything more could be said, Genevieve stepped in. "That's enough for today." Isabel looked up, unsure. Genevieve spoke softly, but firmly. "Let's go inside." And just as she turned to go, Isabel looked back at them and whispered, almost inaudibly, "Can I see Lily?" The question settled into the air like a held breath. For a second, no one moved. Arthur felt his heart slam against his ribs. Ava, still on her knees, reached for Genevieve's eyes. "She wants to see her sister," Ava said gently. "Please." Genevieve's jaw was tight, her expression unreadable. But behind the control, something flickered. Doubt, maybe, or conscience. "You said 5 minutes," she said softly. "And it's been 4, Arthur replied, stepping beside Ava. "Just one more, that's all we ask." Genevieve looked down at Isabel, who was still staring back at Ava and Arthur, her small face creased with a longing she didn't understand. "You remember her?" Genevieve asked the girl. "Not with my head," Isabel whispered. "But my heart says yes." Genevieve exhaled slowly, defeated by something beyond rules and protocol, something ancient and undeniable. She gave a tight nod. Arthur turned and signaled to the car. Moments later, Lily came running down the gravel path, her curls bouncing, Mr. Buttons hugged tightly to her chest. She stopped when she saw Isabel. The two girls locked eyes. The wind rustled through the fig trees, leaves dancing. Neither spoke. Then Lily took one step forward. Isabel took one too. Their pace quickened, hesitant at first, then more sure, until they stood just inches apart. Arthur, Ava, and Genevieve held their breath. Lily smiled softly. "Hi." Isabel blinked fast. "You're real." Lily held out Mr. Buttons. "I saved him for you." Isabel took the rabbit slowly, cradling it with trembling hands. "I remember this." "You used to sleep with him every night," Lily said. "We both did." And then, without another word, Isabel reached forward and hugged her. It wasn't a polite, careful hug, it was messy, tight, desperate, as if the world had been holding its breath for 6 long years and finally exhaled. Ava sobbed openly now, burying her face into Arthur's shoulder. Genevieve turned away, her hand trembling at her mouth. The girls held each other for what felt like eternity. Finally, Lily pulled back and said, "Can you come with us?" Isabel looked up at Genevieve. Genevieve walked over slowly, kneeling beside her. "Sweetheart, I think it's okay for now, just for a little while, if you want to." Isabel turned to Lily, then back at Genevieve. "I want to." Genevieve smiled faintly, tears in her eyes. "Then go." Arthur lifted Ava carefully, and together the 5 of them began walking back toward the car. No one said a word. In the back seat, Lily and Isabel sat side by side, holding Mr. Buttons together. As the car drove away from the estate, Ava looked over her shoulder one last time. At the home that held 6 years of silence and love, she was finally beginning to understand. Arthur squeezed her hand. "We found her," he whispered. But Ava wasn't smiling, because the hardest part was still coming. The drive back into Avignon was quiet. The city glowed in twilight, but the air in the car was thick with unspoken tension. Lily and Isabel sat shoulder to shoulder in the back seat, their hands still intertwined, as if letting go might erase what had just been reclaimed. Ava watched them through the rearview mirror, her eyes glassy, her breath shallow. Arthur glanced at her. "You're in pain." She nodded weakly. "It's the strain, I'm okay." He didn't believe her, but he said nothing. She needed this moment, they all did. They returned to the small inn Arthur had booked outside the city, a quiet, ivy-covered place nestled at the base of a hill. The suite was large enough for all of them, with 2 bedrooms, a sitting area, and a terrace that overlooked the valley. Genevieve had followed behind in her own car, and now stood at the threshold, watching as Isabel explored the new space, looking cautiously at the details, the soft blankets, the stack of coloring books Arthur had asked the staff to prepare, the smell of fresh bread from the nearby kitchen. "I should go," Genevieve said softly. Arthur stepped outside with her. "I want to thank you," he said, "for how you raised her." Genevieve gave a small nod. "She's a beautiful child, smart, kind, and strong. That's because of both of you." She knew, Arthur said. Somewhere inside, she always knew she had a sister. She's always asked questions I couldn't answer. I told myself I was protecting her, but maybe I was just scared I'd lose her. Arthur didn't judge her, he understood. You haven't lost her. You gave her love when we couldn't. And now, maybe we can all be part of her world. Genevieve looked at him, something breaking in her eyes. Just don't take her too fast, please. Let her choose. Let it happen with grace. I promise. Inside, Ava sat with the girls at the small table, watching them color side by side. Their similarities were striking. The same slope of the nose, the same way they chewed on the edge of the crayon while thinking. Ava's heart ached with a joy so painful it was almost unbearable. Isabel looked up. Did I really live with Lily before? Ava smiled gently. Yes, baby. You shared everything, even a heartbeat. The girl stared at her own chest. It still hurts sometimes, my heart. Ava's breath caught. Mine too. Arthur stepped back inside and the girls jumped up, rushing over to him. Can we watch a movie tonight? Lily asked. Yes, he said. Anything you want. Isabel tugged his sleeve. Even if it's a princess one, he laughed, especially if it's a princess one. Ava smiled as she watched him, so different from the man who once walked away. But later, when the girls were asleep, Ava sat on the terrace, her face lit only by moonlight, and Arthur found her crying silently, a letter in her lap. I need to show you something, she said, and handed him the envelope. Arthur stared at the envelope in his hand. It was thin, weathered at the corners and sealed with a trembling kind of care. His name was written on the front, Arthur Vance, in Ava's handwriting. He looked up at her, the shadows across her face revealing everything she wasn't saying out loud. What is this? He asked softly. Ava wrapped the blanket tighter around her shoulders. I wrote it the day Lily was born, when they took Rose into surgery. I didn't know if either of them would make it, and I didn't know if I'd survive the delivery. Arthur's hands tightened around the envelope. I thought, if I died, someone would find it. Maybe one day it would reach you. But it never did, he whispered. I couldn't bring myself to send it after you never came back, she said. I was angry, hurt, and then I was too busy surviving. Arthur slid his finger beneath the flap and opened it. The letter inside was short. Just one page, but the words on it shook him to his core. Arthur, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone, but you're still here. And I hope, God, I hope, you're reading this with our daughter in your arms. Yes, Arthur, you're a father. She has your eyes, and your fierce little frown when something doesn't make sense. She kicked so hard inside me like she was trying to fight her way into the world. I think she got that from both of us. I wanted you to know I never stopped loving you, even when you left, even when you said you weren't ready. But Arthur, if you ever read this, please be ready now. She's going to need you. I don't care about the past anymore. Just promise me you'll give her the one thing I never had, a father who stays. Ava Arthur's hands trembled as he folded the letter back along its creases. His eyes were wet. Ava sat silently beside him, watching his reaction with quiet vulnerability. I meant every word, she said. He nodded slowly, voice hoarse. I know. And I'm sorry I never read it when I should have. I'm sorry you ever had to write it. She reached out and touched his hand. You're here now. And that's more than I ever thought I'd get. Arthur looked out over the hills, the lights of distant houses flickering like distant hopes. You said in the letter you thought you might die. I still might, she said simply. No, he whispered. You won't. I won't let that happen. She looked at him. It's not up to you. He clenched his jaw. Then we fight. We fight for every second. Ava leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm so tired, Arthur. I'll be your strength, he whispered. Just hold on. Inside, the girls stirred in their sleep, unaware of the storm waiting beyond the horizon. And on that quiet terrace, Arthur made a vow. He would not lose this family. Not again. Not without a war. The next morning broke with golden light spilling over the hills. Birds chirped lazily, and the scent of fresh croissants and jam drifted in from the kitchen below. Lily and Isabel were already awake, giggling softly under a blanket in the living room, watching cartoons in French and pretending to understand every word. Ava, however, had not stirred. Arthur stood at her bedroom door, watching her sleep. Too still, too pale. The nurse who traveled with them checked her vitals again, her expression growing tighter with every quiet beep of the monitor. "She needs to be seen immediately," the nurse said. "Her blood pressure is dangerously low." Arthur's voice was calm but cold. "We take her to the hospital now." Within the hour they were at the Avignon Medical Center. Ava was rushed through the doors, Arthur at her side, refusing to be left behind. Lily clung to Isabel, confused, worried. "What's happening?" she asked. "She's just tired," Arthur said, kneeling before them. "But she needs help right now. Can you both be brave for her?" They nodded. Genevieve appeared moments later, called by Arthur. She embraced both girls, pulling them to her side. "I'll watch them," she said softly. "Go." Arthur followed the medical team down the hall, past sterile lights and unfamiliar corridors. He held Ava's hand as they transferred her to a bed, hooked her up to machines, injected fluids. Dr. Leclerc, the French cardiologist assigned to her, entered the room briskly. "We ran the panels again," he said. "There's been rapid deterioration of her heart muscle. Her body's not responding to the treatment." Arthur felt like he'd been punched in the chest. "So what are you saying? She has two options: immediate surgery, which she may not survive, or palliative care." "No." Arthur stepped forward. "There must be something else. A transplant, a second opinion." Dr. Leclerc shook his head. "There's no time. A transplant list here could take months. We don't have that long." Arthur looked down at Ava, her eyes open now, struggling to follow the conversation. "I'm sorry," the doctor said gently. "She has days, a week if we're lucky." Arthur gripped her hand tighter. "I'm not giving up." Ava's voice was raspy. "Arthur." He leaned close. "I'm right here. You have to promise me something," she whispered. He nodded, tears welling. "Anything. Take them home, keep them safe. Let them grow up knowing love, not loss." He shook his head. "You'll be there with them." Her eyes fluttered. "I wish I could see their wedding days, their heartbreaks, their joys. I wish I had more time." "You will," he whispered. "You will." But the monitors told another story. Later that afternoon, the girls were brought in to see her, one at each side of the bed. Ava opened her eyes and smiled faintly. "My stars," she whispered. And then she sang, barely audible, the lullaby they hadn't heard since infancy. "Even if the stars fall down, I'll find you in the dark." Arthur wept silently beside her, and Ava held on, for now. That night, Arthur sat by Ava's bedside as the machines hummed a quiet, cruel lullaby. Her breathing was shallow, her skin translucent beneath the hospital lights. Lily had fallen asleep in the waiting area, her head resting against Isabel's shoulder. Both girls curled into each other as if trying to hold something together with their bodies alone. Arthur hadn't left Ava's side. Not for food, not for rest, not for anything. He held her hand like it was the last thread tying her to the world. "I talked to the team in New York," he whispered, voice cracked. "They're ready, a helicopter, a full cardiac unit. They can do the surgery there." Ava didn't open her eyes. "Too late," she murmured. "It's not. They said—" "Arthur," she breathed, "it's not about machines anymore, it's about peace." He bit down on the scream rising in his throat. "You said we'd fight." "I did," she whispered. "And I did. For years, for them. But I'm so tired." He leaned forward, his forehead pressed to the back of her hand. "I can't do this without you." She smiled faintly, eyes still closed. "Yes, you can. Because now, you're not alone." Silence stretched between them. Then her fingers moved slightly, brushing against his. "There's something else," she said, so soft he had to lean in closer. What is it? I kept a journal, she whispered. For the girls. For every year I thought I wouldn't make it. It's in my old suitcase, the red one. Bottom zipper pocket. Arthur nodded, eyes blurry. I'll give it to them when they're ready. Ava's breath caught, then steadied. Tell them. Tell them I was never afraid to love them. Just afraid I wouldn't stay long enough. You did, he said. You stayed long enough to change everything. She nodded once, the smallest motion. And then her lips moved again, barely forming the words. Sing to me. Arthur blinked. What? Just the stars. He closed his eyes, swallowed. Then softly through the tears he sang, Even if the stars fall down, I'll find you in the dark, wrap you in the light I have and keep you in my heart. Her breathing slowed. He kept singing. Outside the room, Genevieve gathered the girls quietly and brought them to the door. Ava opened her eyes for the final time, just enough to see them. She smiled. And then, as Arthur finished the final verse, Ava Vance took her last breath. Peaceful, quiet, and wrapped in the arms of the family she had held together with every piece of her soul. Arthur didn't cry at first. He just held her hand. And in the silence that followed, Lily reached up and took Isabel's hand. Mommy's a star now, she whispered. And Isabel, tears rolling down her cheeks, replied, the brightest one. 3 weeks later, the New York skyline glistened with the soft haze of early spring. The wind off the Hudson was crisp, but not cruel. In Central Park, trees had begun to bud, and the air carried the scent of beginnings, of things starting over. Arthur stood before a simple gravestone beneath a weeping willow. Ava Sinclair Vance, 1982, 2025. Even if the stars fall down. The stone was understated. No gilded edge, no marble monument, just her name and the line she used to sing. The one she left behind in their daughters' hearts. Behind him, Lily and Isabel stood holding hands. Both wore white dresses with soft yellow sashes. They'd chosen the colors themselves. She said she'd find us in the dark, Lily whispered. Isabel nodded. I think she already has. Arthur turned toward them. Would you like to say something? Lily stepped forward, her voice small but sure. I remember when Mommy got sick. She told me stars are just people who shine from far away. And now I see her every night. Isabel looked up. I didn't know her as long, but I know how it felt when she hugged me. It felt like home. And now Lily feels like that too. Arthur's voice caught in his throat. She loved you both more than anything. Everything she did, every sacrifice she made, it was for you. Lily glanced up at him. Do we have to leave her here? No, Arthur said. She's not just here. She's everywhere. In you, in me, in the songs she sang and the letters she left. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out Ava's red journal, the one she had filled for years. I want to read something she wrote, he said, the day after you were born. He opened to a worn page near the beginning. To my stars, it read. You are the beginning of everything I ever got right. When you cry, I'll echo in the hush. When you laugh, I'll rise in the air around you. I don't know how long I'll be with you in body, but in love, I'll never leave. You are my legacy, my girls. My hope. The girls pressed their heads together, tears slipping silently down their cheeks. Arthur knelt in front of them. Your mom left me with one mission, to protect you, love you, never let you forget how deeply you are loved. He wrapped both girls in his arms. And I swear to you, he said, I will never break that promise. As they stood together in the quiet morning, the wind lifted through the trees. The willow's branches swayed gently, and somewhere far above them, the clouds broke apart just enough to let sunlight pour through. Arthur looked up, and for the first time in years, he smiled. Broken, healing, real. The stars hadn't fallen. They had just come home. The weeks that followed were filled with gentle chaos, a kind of soft rebuilding. Arthur moved the girls into his penthouse temporarily, though it didn't take long for him to realize. A tower of glass and steel was no place to raise daughters, especially not ones who had already known too much silence, too much distance. So, he bought a house Not a mansion, not a fortress, a home. It sat on a quiet street in Brooklyn with a red door and a small garden where Ava once said she'd always wanted to plant jasmine. Arthur had the trellis built by hand, and on the first day of spring, Lily and Isabel helped him hang it. They painted their rooms themselves. Lily chose soft lavender. Isabel, to no one's surprise, picked yellow. Arthur had the journal framed page by page and placed in a gallery wall in the hallway. Every time the girls passed, they stopped to read a line or two. Each entry was a tether to Ava's love, and every night before bed, they read from it like scripture. One evening, as the sun melted into the skyline, Lily crawled into Arthur's lap holding a photo. It was old, creased at the corners. A snapshot Ava had kept of them in college. He didn't know it still existed. "Was this when you loved her?" Lily asked. Arthur nodded. "The very beginning." Isabel sat beside them, holding Mr. Buttons. "And did she love you back?" He smiled gently. "She did, even when I didn't deserve it." The girls leaned against him, one on each side like bookends to his story. The warmth of their bodies, the rhythm of their breathing, it grounded him in a way no skyscraper ever had. They stayed that way for a long time. Later that week, Arthur took a day off from work, his first in months. They packed a picnic and went to the park. Lily and Isabel raced each other across the grass, their laughter trailing behind them like a ribbon. Arthur sat under a tree, watching, grateful, humbled. Genevieve called once a week from France. Isabel spoke to her with growing confidence, her two homes slowly stitching together into something whole. And Genevieve, with grace and wisdom, never once pulled her back, only lifted her forward. One night, Arthur woke to the sound of crying. He found Isabel sitting on the stairs, clutching Mr. Buttons, her cheeks wet. "I miss her," she whispered. He sat beside her and pulled her close. "Me too." "Will I forget her someday?" she asked. Arthur shook his head. "Not if we keep her with us in the stories, in the songs, in the way we love each other." She nodded slowly. And then, with a small voice, she said, "Can we write to her?" "Every day," he said. They went to the kitchen, got paper and markers, and began. "Dear Mommy, today I climbed a tree. Tomorrow I'll climb too. Love, Isabel." The stars hadn't left. They were growing roots. Summer crept in with the scent of honeysuckle and sidewalk chalk. The days grew long, and laughter became the music of the new house. Lily and Isabel learned how to ride bikes, scraped their knees, got back up, and discovered the joy of matching bruises and whispered secrets beneath sun-dappled trees. Arthur was there for all of it. The first time they fell, the first time they got back up, the first time they looked at him and called him Dad without hesitation. He kept every crayon drawing, every letter to Ava. He built a small wooden box with their names carved into the lid, where they tucked their notes each night before bed. It was their mailbox to heaven. Every morning, he found himself reading those letters alone before sunrise. "Mommy, today I beat Lily at hopscotch." "Mommy, Dad made pancakes and didn't burn them this time." "Mommy, I wish you could see how happy we are." He cried more mornings than he didn't. One Sunday, Arthur took them to the beach, the first family trip since returning from France. The girls ran barefoot across the sand, shrieking with joy as waves chased their heels. Arthur watched from a striped chair, a book in one hand, his eyes on them every second. Isabel built a sandcastle. Lily decorated it with seashells. Then they planted Mr. Buttons like a flag at the top. Arthur snapped a photo. That night, the girls sat beside him under a blanket, cheeks sunburned, hair salty and tangled. "Tell us a story about her," Isabel said. "Yeah," Lily added, "the kind before we were born." Arthur smiled, warmed by the request. "Did I ever tell you how we met?" They shook their heads. "It was freshman year, first day. I was late to class, and the only seat left was next to this red-haired girl who was furiously scribbling notes with glitter pens." Isabel giggled. "Glitter pens?" "Oh yes," he said. "She believed everything was better with a little sparkle." "And then?" Lily asked. "And then she looked at me, frowned and said, You're blocking the sunlight, skyscraper." They burst into laughter. "She was sharp," Arthur said, "and fierce, and so full of life I didn't know what to do with her. But from the moment she looked at me, I was never the same." The girls went quiet. Then Isabel asked, "Do you think she'd be proud of us?" Arthur's voice trembled. "She already was. From the moment she saw you, you were the greatest thing she ever made." Lily leaned against him. "And you?" He wrapped his arms around them both. "You're what saved me." The room filled with silence and heartbeat and belonging. Later that night, Isabel placed a new letter in the box. "Dear Mommy, we laughed today. A lot. It felt like you were right there laughing too. Love, your stars." And in the stillness of the dark, Arthur whispered, "You always are." The first day of school came with the rustle of new backpacks, sharpened pencils, and matching lunchboxes. Lily and Isabel stood on the porch steps, their hands linked tightly, as Arthur took a picture, just as Ava once dreamed he would. They wore yellow hair ribbons, not planned, just chosen by instinct, and each carried a small photo of Ava inside their bags, tucked beside their notebooks like a secret. "I'm nervous," Isabel confessed. Lily squeezed her hand. "We'll be nervous together." Arthur crouched beside them. "You're going to be amazing. And remember, the bravest thing isn't not being scared, it's showing up anyway." They nodded, took a deep breath, and marched forward, side by side, heart by heart. As the bus pulled away, Arthur stood frozen at the curb, a strange ache opening in his chest. Not pain, but pride. The kind that makes you realize just how far you've come from the man you used to be. Later that week, the girls were assigned a family tree project. Arthur watched as they sat at the kitchen table, coloring branches and gluing paper leaves. Lily wrote Mom in big looping letters with stars around the name. Isabel drew a picture of Ava holding two babies. "This is the beginning," she said. "That's when everything started." Arthur stood in the doorway, speechless. He joined them, tracing the tree with his finger. "Do you know what this really is?" "A picture," Lily guessed. Arthur smiled. "It's proof that love doesn't die. It just grows." They kept working late into the evening, past dinner, past bedtime. The girls yawned but refused to stop until it was finished. When they held it up, it was chaotic, colorful, full of stickers, tape, and love. And at the roots of the tree, under the names of Ava and Arthur, they had written, "Planted in love." Grown in stars. One night after the lights were off and the house was still, Arthur opened Ava's journal again. There was one last entry he hadn't dared to read, a page marked with a single ribbon. "To Arthur," it began, "if you're reading this, it means you stayed. It means you held on. And for that, I thank you. You always thought you needed to build something to matter. Towers, companies, names on doors. But look at them now. Lily, Rose. You built something so much greater than an empire. You built a future. And one day when they ask who you are, don't say I'm the man who lost her. Say I'm the man who loved her through it all." That's enough. Arthur closed the journal, tears slipping silently down his cheeks. He walked to the girls' room and kissed each forehead, then stood at the window looking out at the night. The stars were out, and he was no longer afraid of the dark. 1 year later, the house was filled with warmth, light, and voices, some familiar, others new. The scent of vanilla cupcakes drifted from the kitchen, and streamers hung in loops across the ceiling. A large banner read, "Happy 8th birthday, Lily and Isabel." The girls, now taller, more confident, and just as inseparable, ran through the living room in matching dresses. They had insisted on doing everything together, blowing out candles, opening presents, even giving a little speech. Arthur stood by the window, smiling as guests mingled, and laughter filled every corner of the home. Genevieve was there too, having flown in from France. She stood near the fireplace, holding a framed photo of Ava with the girls as infants, one of the few pictures that survived from those early, precious days. "I miss her more at moments like this," Genevieve said quietly. Arthur nodded. She would have loved today. She would have loved the man you've become, she added gently. Arthur looked away, overwhelmed. I just wanted to get it right. For them, for her. You did, Genevieve said. And you are. In the center of the room, Lily tapped a spoon to her glass, standing beside her sister. We have something to say, she called out. Everyone quieted. Isabel stepped beside her, holding a piece of paper. We wrote a poem, Lily explained. For Mommy. Arthur's chest tightened. Then the girls began alternating lines. She was the song we heard in sleep, the voice that told us not to weep. She held us close, though far above, and filled our hearts with endless love. She taught us stars are never gone. They just shine light and then move on. She gave us strength and Dad a start to build our home from broken parts. So when you see us smile or play, it's because she's here each day, not in the sky or just our dreams. She's in our laughter, in our teams. Lily looked at Isabel and grinned. She's in our stories, every page. Our love for her won't dull with age. The room erupted in applause and tears. Arthur clapped slowly, proud beyond words. He stepped forward and hugged them both tightly. That was perfect, he whispered. Just like her, Isabel said. Later that night, after everyone had gone, the house was quiet again. Arthur sat between his daughters on the living room rug, the remains of wrapping paper scattered around them. Did you have a good birthday? He asked. The best, Lily said. Because of the cupcakes, he teased. Because of everything, Isabel answered. Because we're a family. Arthur looked between them. His stars, his legacy, his reason to keep going. You know, he said softly, your mom always believed love was the most powerful thing in the world. She was right, Lily whispered. Then Isabel added, and now we believe it too. Outside, the stars blinked quietly in the sky, and inside, 3 hearts beat together, whole, strong, and forever changed.